Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
From the home of British Motorsport to the spiritual home of the British Racing Sports Car Club, we now move on to Brands Hatch in Kent for rounds 4, 5 and 6 of the 2023-24 BRSCC Mazda Winter Esports Series. This is a perfect opportunity for plenty of the BRSCC's members and racers to keep themselves fresh and keep their hand in whilst the real racing has paused for the winter period. But of course, we're back here on iRacing, back in those Mark IV Mazda MX-5 Global Cup cars, and back for more action wheel to wheel here amongst the club. Evening, everybody. Scott Woodward here to guide you through all of the action from rounds 4, 5 and 6 off the back of what was a very intense first 3 races on the Silverstone GP circuit. We've even come into the second evening of competition with a tie in points between 2 drivers, Ted Bradbury and William Chadwick, after they put on some great displays, and it was 2 wins toward Chadwick's 1 going forwards. Just a note to Josh Wilson, who's on cameras for us tonight as well, and also thanks to our supporters, to Will Blackwell Chambers and to Matt Kendall for our admins for the series, also to Hydro Racer, our supporters and sponsors for this season. On top of that, also to Apex Racing TV for the broadcast, and of course to iRacing for the platform as well. So we're currently at the moment about halfway through the qualifying session here at Brands Hatch. You can see the timing screen on the left-hand side, and it is Silverstone single race winner William Chadwick, who's currently fastest at the moment from defending series winner Mikey Doble, number 1. Yes, it is that Mikey Doble, who was former BMW Compact Cup champion turned BTCC star. He currently is second quickest, ahead of Will Redford, James Dennison and Harvey M. Jones. Harvey M. Jones, one of a few newcomers in the field tonight, and we'll be going through 1 or 2 of them as we go through. But there's William Chadwick in car number 192. He is currently level in points ahead of alongside Ted Bradbury as we go on board with him down towards Surtees Corner. Well, as we're looking at here, we might have a possible chance to have a look at the point standings coming into the rounds 4, 5 and 6 at Brands Hatch. Again, lots of action going on from those first rounds. But as I mentioned, at the top of the tree, it is a tie between points between both Ted Bradbury and William Chadwick. 296 points apiece coming to Brands Hatch. It's Richard Jepp in 3rd, only a point ahead of Tom Griffiths in 4th. Then Mikey Doble, the defending series champion, only 5th after he had an up and down weekend, including 2 4th-place finishes. Then it's Jack Noller, Matt Kendall, Will Redford, Joe Doble, Lee Britton and Ari Barker rounding out the top 11. And then Will Blackwell Chambers up there in 12th, Isaac Doble. And then it's Andrew Tibbs and John Pethick in the top 15. Finley Lyons in there as well, who is the son of TCR UK's very own Stuart Lyons. Also John Higgins and also Tom Monhemius as well in there too. A few more drivers have got some work to try and pick their way up through the order, like Stephen Daly, 5-time BMW Compact Cup champion. He's got some efforts to try and get up the order, and so too are the likes of possibly Tom Selden and Mike Close and others who might want to get some strong results here at Brands Hatch. So the circuit itself then, Brands Hatch, effectively is the home circuit of the BRSCC, given that the club is only based just not too far up the road, 15-20 minutes away in real world in Kings Hill in West Malling. And so it's not too far away from this fantastic speed bowl. Of course, it's been the previous home of the British Grand Prix, of world sports car races and all sorts of other fantastic events. And of course, it is the home in the real world for the BRSCC of one of their Blue Ribbon events, the Formula Ford Festival, which there now, of course, is a esports version of that now, the BRSCC iRacing FF1600 Festival, which has recently just had a new date announced for next year, which is November 3rd. So watch out for that if you're going to take part. But that is in obviously next year's time rather than this year, as we look forward towards this qualifying session. Here's one of our newcomers for tonight, Harvey Jones. He is a prospective runner in this next year's Fiesta Junior Scholarship at Brighton Park in February, so he'll be looking to try and see if he can win himself that prize pot of £65,000 plus, which is worth of Fiesta Junior Scholarship prize, including a drive on a fully fledged Mark 7 race car. A few others in the field hoping to try and make some efforts and inroads to tonight as well, including Richard Frey's another one of them as well. He is a regular in the Super Classic Formula 4 Championship. He's currently 31st quickest at the moment. Also making his first appearance tonight is Luke Herbert. There is Richard Frey, in fact, in car number 68. I think he's hopefully looking to try and be in a red car next time, but he's got the bright blue for this one instead for the first round. Also in the mix, we've got Luke Herbert, three-time MX-5 Super Cup champion. He is making his first appearance of the season, and of course he's a dab hand in an MX-5, regardless of what generation, or even in real world or in the sim. He'll be looking to try and make an effort as well. Also, whilst we stay on board with Richard Frey, we've got Matt Dawkins, who is a racer in the Fun Cup Endurance Championship. He's currently the moment 18th quickest. He races for the EDF Motorsport team, for the Vape Club team car that he shares with Vlad Vasiliev. Looking down there, Ben Sharp, who is a regular Civic Cup racer, also on the grid tonight as well. A couple of drivers who missed out on the opening rounds at Silverstone are here for Brands Hatch, looking to be locking themselves in for the rest of the season. There's Ben Sharp in car 24. He's hoping to try and push on. Ben Sharp 29th fastest at the moment in qualifying. We're coming into the last 5 minutes of the session. William Chadwick still currently on provisional pole position, ahead of Mikey Doble in second place. And it's Will Redford, James Dennison and Harvey M. Jones making quite an impact on his debut in the series tonight. 5th fastest in qualifying so far. And there is Will Redford in the Nyan Cat livery. Now, Will Redford is a regular and it was a race winner in this year's Miltech Sports Civic Cup. And he's also quite a dab hand in the sim. He was runner-up in last year's series when he ran Mikey Doble all the way to the end of the season at Laguna Seca, and he was in the hunt until, and he won't thank me for reminding you about this, but then he had the off at the corkscrew, which put him out of the race, and not just out of the race, but out of the title contention as well. He has got one driver behind him, but I think he's going to be a dark horse and certainly a contender for the title in this Weekend Esports Series, and that's Ted Bradbury, who has been an absolute sensation in the GazShocks Mazda MX-5 Championship this year. Stuck the car in pole position in his first ever race weekend, just barely 2 weeks after he just learned to drive a manual gearbox. So he certainly is pushing on, and he's since then taken a race win and ended up 3rd in the championship. So he'll be wanting to improve on that and get himself a little bit high in the points after his 2 wins. In fact, one of those wins came with a photo finish. He was able to just pick his way through and get a last gasp move on William Chadwick and just beat him to the line by some 37 thousandths of a second at the checkered flag. And he takes 2 wins to William Chadwick's 1, and he ends up on top of the points, tied at least on 296, coming into this weekend. So the all identical Mark IV Mazda MX-5 Global Cup cars, an incredibly popular car mainly for rookies in the series in iRacing, but also for experienced veterans. It's one of those cars where you really have to, they're easy to pick up, but they're quite difficult to master, and the fastest of the fastest drivers out there really do know how to get every single little ounce of performance out of these MX-5s. And for those who follow BRSCC competitions in real world will know that one of their strongest and most populated paddocks is that in the Mazda MX-5s, as Bradbury tries to leap his way up to 4th fastest in the times, 1:38.011. He's still about roughly 3.5 tenths off the fastest time, set by Will Chadwick. He's shuffled James Dennison down to 5th place, and Harvey Jones down to 6th. The rest of the top 10 sees John Pethick, who's just in the car 150 there. He was just a couple of cars behind Bradbury. He's currently in 7th. Matt Kendall, who'll be in the all-white car, is 8th. Currently looking at Will Blackwell Chambers, former MX-5 Super Cup champion himself, and he's one of the main admins behind the series as well. Good to see him out there in his customary number 43, which he has run in the years when he hasn't been a champion. He's usually run 43, as that is his number. And as he heads his way down Pilgrim's Drop and towards Hawthorns on this qualifying lap, he's still got 3.5 minutes to go and change to be able to see if he can get himself a little bit higher. Also in there around the top 10 is Tom Griffiths. As we now switch to Stephen Daly. Good to see Stephen taking part. He's no stranger to iRacing, and of course in the real world, if you know his exploits, he's quite a dab hand at the wheel of a rear-wheel drive BMW. 5-time BMW Compact Cup champion, and he has been quite handy in sim racing once or twice. I've seen him racing in TCR touring cars, racing in iRacing before. We're now stepping into the MX-5s in the Winter Esports Series, and of course in his customary white, black and orange livery. We're riding on board with him. He's just chasing after the 50 car of Lee Britton, and get a good onboard shot here of the way this Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit just flows and sweeps. It's one of those fantastic natural, it's relatively untouched. We come through. So as they come onto the pit straight once again, there's quite a few cars just packing up a little bit here, just grouping up to try and get a bit of a tow. A couple of cars moving out of the way as we come across the line. No real changes in times, it seems. Daly has improved his time. He's gone to 6th with that lap, so 1 minute 38.090 sees Daly pick his way up to the 3rd row of the grid for race number 1. And there's John Pethick, who's decided to dump his number 150 car on the gravel up at the top of Druids, but quickly escapes the pit lane. Tom Griffiths also waiting to try and go out. There's James Dennison. Now he's in a livery in that car which he's been sharing with Pete Smith, who's just behind him. In fact, actually, those two have been sharing an MX-5 in this year's Supersport Endurance Cup. It's been a Mark 1, and they finished up 3rd in the Clubman C class, so they'll be trying to, rather than racing alongside each other, they're almost going to be racing against each other, but also, I suspect, potentially working together if they could be close to each other in the mix. Pete Smith is actually outside of a top 25 by the looks of it, but James Dennison certainly getting him a knack of this MX-5. There's Pete Smith there, 29th at the moment, so out just inside the top 30 runners. As you see there, just James Dennison just blinking in out a little bit. They're honest drivers whose connections are just spiking just a tiny bit as we work through, but these two cars seem to work together a little bit here as we come towards the end of this qualifying session. And Chadwick still provisional pole position. Mikey Doble, car number 1. Of course, he's running the Power Max livery, which he typically runs as part of the touring car team. He had that brilliant announcement earlier this week that he has been confirmed again as a British touring car driver for Power Max Racing for at least another season, and he will carry on into 2024 after an amazing debut season in the championship, which even saw him take an incredible pole position at Silverstone in the wet as well. So, qualifying is complete here at Brands Hatch. We're getting set for the first of 3 15-minute races here at Brands Hatch on the full GP circuit. Of course, the former home of the British Grand Prix, and it's been home of so many top racing series, but now it's time for the BRSCC Winter Esports guys to come out to play. So Will Chadwick then starts from the front row of the grid from pole position for race number 1 of the night, alongside Mikey Doble on the front row. Then it's Will Redford and Ted Bradbury on the second row of the grid. James Dennison looks to go well from 5th, and Harvey Jones, a great debut starting spot from P6 on the grid in row 3. Then it's Stephen Daly and John Pettick from Matt Kendall and Will Blackwell Chambers in the top 10, followed by Tom Griffiths and Lee Britton on row 6 in 11th and 12th. Going back to row 7, it's John Higgins and Joe Doble from Ben Sharp and Ewan Charmer making his debut tonight in the Series 2. Andrew Tibbs and Richard Wooten also making his first appearance, completes the top 18 ahead of Steve Roberts and Tom Selden. Then it's Matt Dawkins, the Fun Cup racer, 21st on the grid alongside Ari Barker and Chris Etheridge and Luke Herbert, also making their first appearances of the year on row 12. Then it's Finley Lines for TCR head honcho Stuart Lines alongside Isaac Doble, who starred really well in the reverse grid race at Silverstone. He starts 26th. Then it's Reese Lewis and Matthew Parks, Pete Smith and Keith Dalton rounding out the top 30. Then Tom Monhemius, Richard Frey making his debut tonight too. James Roberts, the regular photographer for BRSCC, starts 33rd. Then Will Hopkins and Chris Humphreys, who's one of our fantastic Orange Army, the Marshal, back in 35th on the grid. And thank you to him and all of our fantastic Marshals for their efforts this year. So we somehow have picked up all 35 drivers. So we'll see if we can. Let's see if we can get racing. I'm just waiting for 1 or 2 guys to just get themselves back on the grid and line themselves up for what should be quite an intense run. Of course, Brands Hatch on the GP circuit, it's slightly narrow. There are 1 or 2 passing spots, but you have to really commit to it. But let's see who wins the whole shot down towards Paddock Hill Bend then. So round 4, the 2023-24 BRSCC Winter Esports Series is go when the lights go out. We are underway. A stream of smoke as they all head down towards Paddock Hill Bend for the first time, and it's even Stevens between Chadwick on the left and Doble on the right as they charge towards Paddock for the first time, and it's Chadwick who leads it and gets the whole shot. It's 2nd place for Doble, 3rd for Will Redford. Are they going to get through safely and cleanly? They're all getting through so far. Fingers crossed up towards towards Druids, having a sneak up the inside, looks to Ted Bradbury for third, trying to get past Will Redford. He's had a better running qualifying than he did at Silverstone. One or two cars having a little bit of strife towards the top of Druids, but they've all seemed to have got through just about safely. And out of Graham Hill Bend and on the short straight towards Surtees for the first time. And immediately, there is an attack here. It's 3-4 wide down towards Surtees. One of the Dobles in the background has been in trouble. It might well be Joe Doble, I think. And he's gone around on the exit of Graham Hill Bend, but now's to come down through Pilgrim's Drop and towards Hawthorns. We're right on board with Will Redford. He's tucked in a slipstream behind Mikey Doble in second place as Chadwick continues to lead as he did at the start of race 1 at Silverstone. Doble looking to the outside. They hit the brakes. They turn through the right-hander. It's a strong start also for the purple car in 5th place of James Dennison. He's held on to his starting spot as they pile their way down towards into the right-hander at Westfield. Almost forgot that for a second. And then up through Dingle down through Sheen Curve. There's a bit of bumping and boring to go through, but Denison's gone through into 4th place, so one car's been shuffled back. Appears to be Will Redford. He's there down 3 or 4 spots. 2 more cars hitting strife in the background. One of which I was trying to pick out who it was. It might be car 24. It was 24 that had the issue and dropped back. 24 was, if I can find him on the timing screen, which I should be able to. Ben Sharps, he was well in the mix there too. Also someone who's been dropping down a little bit. Might well be Chris Etheridge. Meanwhile, leaders back across the line to end lap number 1 then in this first race of the night at Brands Hatch. And it's Chadwick who leads. Mikey Doble in second place, but for how much longer as Doble goes steaming up the inside, trying to hold on to the place, but taking the high, wide and handsome line through Paddock Hill Bend goes Chadwick, goes defensive to the inside, and here comes Bradbury on the outside in the white, orange and blue car. He's going for second place, and that's the view you can see behind. He is literally inches apart as they come out of the hairpin at Druids and down towards Graham Hill Bend. Into second place, up the inside goes Bradbury. He's looking to go to the front of the field, and we're back to exactly the same scenario that we had back at Silverstone. It's Chadwick and Bradbury first and second at the front of the field, with Doble and co chasing after them. I have to say, it's an impressive start so far to hold on to his qualifying spot and some to improve on that from James Dennison up in 4th. So he's doing a grand job at the moment, but it's Daly 5th, Blackwall Chambers 6th, Harvey Jones is still 7th, and he's only lost 1 place from where he started. And then Lee Britton, Matt Kendall and John Higgins round out the top 10 as the rest of the field piles its way down Pilgrim's Drop and towards Hawthorn for the second time. There is John Higgins Jr. He's been chased by Tom Griffiths. That's the battle for 10th position at the moment. As we turn in now with Tom on the onboard with Tom Griffiths through Westfield over the curb, a bit wide there from the Hills Motorsport man, running the same number and same livery as this year's MX-5 Super Cup Pro Class champion Aidan Hills, because Aidan Hills is the team boss of Hills Motorsport, and not only that, he's this year's Pro Class Super Cup champion, and that car being represented now by John Higgins Jr. as Griffiths gets a nice little run exiting the left-hander at Stirling under the bridge and back in through the right-hander at Clearways and through Clark Curve now to end lap number 2. So everyone's starting to group together a little bit here. A little further back, that looks like Isaac Doble scrapping with Keith Dalton, and whoops, sideways I think for Matthew Parks, and off the road he goes, and I think inadvertently goes into the pit lane, so that wasn't quite where he wanted to head. I'm not quite sure, there's no pit stops, Matthew, so you have to try and loop him back around, which he does. Just lost out to Tom Monhemius, who I think was the other driver who was involved in the spin. Ewan Charman also go. He's been down to 32nd place. So as he rejoins, the rest of the field make their way down towards it. Meanwhile, further back, there's been 1 or 2 incidents. Joe Doble was involved in it. 1 or 2 incidents further up the field as we can see. Meanwhile, for the lead, up the inside goes Ted Bradbury. That's the move in towards Surtees, and up into the lead he goes then, but Doble's got a good run off the corner too. And now here comes Chadwick. They're going to be side by side. Down the hill then, under the bridge at Pilgrim's Drop and towards Hawthorns. They're all bunched together. Doble gives Chadwick the push. He looks to the outside line through Hawthorns. Now to the right-hander they go. Doble takes his high, wide and handsome line round the outside at the right-hander at Hawthorns. Can he hold on to it? Yes, he can. Bradbury realised he wasn't going to win that battle anytime soon, just slots back in behind because he knows there's still quite a bit to go here in this first of 3 15-minute races. We're coming up to a third race distance already with 4.5 minutes run. But this lead pack of about 8 or 9 cars are starting to group together here. We've got Chadwick from Doble, from Bradbury, from Dennison, then Stephen Daly in 5th. Harvey Jones in his first Winter Esports race still up to 6th now. Then 7th place for Will Blackwall Chambers, 8th for Lee Britton and 9th for Matt Kendall. That's the top 9 as they come back out underneath the bridge and back onto the pit straight once again through Clark Curve. And Chadwick now just holding on. If we look back from Harvey Jones, there's number 43, Will Blackwall Chambers, looming large on that rear bumper camera. We come back down towards Paddock and he's having a look up the inside as Harvey Jones goes defensive as he was possibly looking up the inside to make a move on Stephen Daly, but he couldn't make that stick either. So So they come back out of the right-hander at paddock, back up towards the Druids again, and now Doble trying to apply the pressure here as he goes for second place. Chadwick has a little bit of breathing space now, but he's going to have to try and pull away and make the most of that if he can. As we ride on board with the defending eSports Series winner and, of course, former BMW Compact Cup champion and, of course, the GT5 champion, we shouldn't forget either. Took both of those titles on the same weekend at 2 different circuits. So incredible sort of logistics work there between Silverstone and Donington helped him achieve that one. And, of course, Mikey Doble now a bona fide star in his first season in the British Touring Car Championship, looking to try and improve on his results from last year, and possibly even go for a second title. But he has got some ground to make up in the championship, and to do that, he's going to have to start winning races. There's Stephen Daly, car number 46. He's being chased down by All Blackwell Chambers 43. 2 more champions within BRSCC circles. Coming back down through Dingledale, up through Sheen Curve, right at the top of the crest, rocking over the curbs as they come back through towards Stirling. And Stephen Daly trying to improve on some of the results that he picked up back at Silverstone. His best result actually was in 11th place in that 3rd race. A bit of a rough race in the first 2 going through. We've got a bit of a replay here looking back in the pack. This is of our resident photographer for most of the time in BRSCC, which is James Roberts. That's not looking factory spec, I'm afraid, James. That car's looking very second-hand. He's been involved in some kind of an incident as he crawls his way back towards the pit lane. He can hold out, and this is actually the replay here in slow-mo. This is looking back up ahead of him. 2 cars battling away. And as he comes up through the right hand, looks up, Tom Selden lost it in front of him there. Oh, and he speared back across into the road. And I'm afraid James had absolutely nowhere to go on that. I have to sympathise with James. He was literally left a sitting duck in that position as Tom Selden just lost it on the exit. Spear back into the road, into the path of Roberts, and I'm afraid that's his race done already. Meanwhile, back at the front, Lord Chadwick continuing to lead the way with Bradbury and Doble in tow. James Dennison holding court in 4th position now. He's got a new challenger in the shape of Harvey Jones, so watch out for Harvey in the black and green car in 5th position, the 5th car on the train. Turning in through Horn towards the right-hander. I think what's been happening, we've had 1 or 2 incidents further back in the pack. I think we're going to get possibly a replay here of some other incidents that we've had further back in the order as we look backwards. This is, that looks to be, this is Ted Bradbury looking for 1st, 2nd and 3rd. This is looking back at these guys here that were scrapping a few minutes ago. This is what happened here a bit further back. So this is as they came into the hairpin, he was right on the rear bumper as they turned their way through. This is when they went a bit further back and down the hill towards the left-hander. Looking through the action there in that sense. Now as we come out through Clark Curve again, Chadwick trying to extend that advantage, but he's not getting it too far away now. The gap is only 0.3 of a second. It's coming down bit by bit because Bradbury's in the tow, but he's also going to have to defend here because up the inside looks Mikey Doble for 2nd place in towards Paddock Hill Bend. Gets the move done, but Bradbury looks for the switchback on the exit as they go up Halewood Hill. But Doble sees that coming, swings to the inside and defends the line. Back under brakes, he's now instantly going on the attack for the lead here as they turn through the Druids. And going uphill to downhill again, charging down towards the left-hander at Graham Hill Bend. Harvey Jones, who comes into this one as a part of the Alpha Esports team as well, of course, as well as having put himself in for the Fiesta Junior Scholarship for 2024. And I'll tell you what, he's making a case for himself here already in an esports sense because he's certainly running well in 5th position. Giving some of the more experienced runners in BRSCC circles quite the runaround at this point in P5, including running ahead of the 5-time BMW Compact Cup champion Stephen Daly. The rest of the top 10 still showing us Britain in 7th place, Kendall in 8th, Blackwell Chambers in 9th and Higgins in 10th. A few other drivers who are a bit further back than I probably would have expected. Looking at some others, we've got Tom Griffiths back in 11th place, Ben Sharp on his first appearance tonight is 13th. The other two members of the Doble clan, who are Isaac Doble back in 15th, Joseph Doble in 17th, and also Will Redford, who I think was caught up in some dramas of his own in the first couple of minutes. He's back in 18th. As you see there, Ted Bradbury running a little wide on the exit of Stirling's, and that's now going to give the opportunity for James Dennison to go to 3rd place if he can go diving down the outside in towards Clearways. Mark Curve again. Now on board with Dennison. There is the bumper of Ted Bradbury looming large in his windscreen. You give him a push down the pit straight. When you look towards the inside or outside, which way is he going? He's going to go outside towards Paddock Hill Bend, but Bradbury will certainly defend that back on the racing line. And also in the mix here, you can see R. Jones and Daly as they turn out through Paddock and back up the hill towards Drury. So Dennison now going immediately from attack to defence, as here comes Harvey Jones up the inside. Denison runs a little deep. Jones takes the line and says thank you very much. Up to 4th place he goes. So top stuff from Harvey then, and this now puts Denison having a little look back up the inside. This could be pretty risky, but they give each other room. That's quite smart racing from both drivers. But Harvey Jones defends the line quickly, gets back across into the nose of Denison and says, I'm not trying to get him back on that side, Sunshine, but it ain't going to happen this time. All that battling has only lost them time and track position, it seems. He's lost a few car lengths to the top 3 as they start to be in a battle of their own. As that happens, Doble is really on the bumper of Chadwick, looking to the outside. Denison, meanwhile, continuing to attack for 4th place. Again, looks to their outside line, but Harvey Jones using the road, all the road, to put the car in the middle of the track to hold on to the place. And that lead group's getting a little bit bigger. So Kendall there was having a look up the inside of Britain as they head out to Westfield and back down the hill through Dingledale once again. It is at the moment, in terms of MX-5 championships represented within BRSCC, it's effectively MX-5 from Compact Cup from MX-5, and Mikey Doble getting his close there in 2nd place. You can tell he's pushing. Certainly, he's learnt a few things. The touring has to do things the touring car way in some cases, but thankfully he's not the kind of driver who bumps and runs. He's certainly quite a more respectful driver out there when it comes to his racecraft. Proven that as he comes across the line. Still got 3.5 minutes left to go in this first race as they come back down the pit straight and towards Paddock Hill Bend again. This time sweeping to the inside to defend the line from 2nd place. But is Doble trying to line him up for the switch back here on the exit towards Druids? Chadwick sees that coming, goes straight to the defensive line. Of course, Doble will step a long way around at Druids, which he tries, and it might well open the door up here for Ted Bradbury on the inside for 2nd place. And again, Chadwick not comfortable taking the full racing line. He has to go a little bit tighter to try and put Doble off. And now we're back with Bradbury here in 3rd place. He might sniff an opportunity. Now he goes to the outside line towards Surtees. Can he go straight round the outside? Ted Bradbury, only about 17 years old, but he's driving like he's been doing it for years. He's doing a fantastic job, as he did in this year's MX-5 Championship. Won his first race, only his first season in the Championship this year at Snetterton in the wet. And I remind you again something I said in qualifying yet. He literally took pole position on his debut in the Championship on the full Silverstone Grand Prix circuit, purely 2 weeks after he first learned to drive a car with a manual gearbox. Believe that if you will, but that's incredible stuff. Through the right-hander at Westfield they go. Down the hill once more. And Harvey Jones putting a good effort in 4th place too. Some of the lap times at the moment, just looking at our live timing screen, the best lap time so far appears to be, fastest lap of the race has actually gone to the car in 4th place, Harvey Jones, 1:37.878, so he's running pretty well. All these guys running in amongst each other, they're all lapping pretty much at the same sort of pace each other, so in the very high 37s and low 38s, all in 38 zeros, 38 ones, 38 twos, very close together in terms of laps. You can see here how Harvey Jones just stacking up James Denison into the path of Stephen Daly. Lee Britton there in the black and yellow car with the pink roll cage, he's up there in 7th place. They're all just backing themselves up into each other as this battle continues to intensify. Now I think we're going to be on to potentially the last lap of the race here, because a lap is about 1:37, 1:38. Their last lap time got in the low to mid 1:39s, so we could be seeing possibly checkered flag this time by, and this is when points make prizes. So let's see if Doble can try and push a little bit harder here. He might be thinking about his opportunity, but he'll know the time. He can see that time's running out, and so too does Bradbury see that, and everyone else. Through all that sequence, Stephen Day's moved himself up to 4th as Doble gets shuffled out of the queue. Now, I couldn't quite see if he made a mistake there or if there was a bit of contact. Either way, it's now put them side by side between Chadwick and Bradbury down the back straight. This is exactly how it was at Silverstone. These two battling out wheel to wheel down the back straight towards the right-hander at Hawthorns. Now it's side by side for 4th and 5th. It's now Harvey Jones has gone to 3rd place. So through all that melee, Mike Doble's gone down to 4th position at this point, because Harvey Jones, on his debut in the series, the Fiesta Junior Scholarship hopeful, up into 3rd place now in a podium spot, and he's actually not far off the top 2 if he can get himself in there. There's only about roughly 35 seconds left of this race to go. We may well get checkered flag this time by. We could even get one more lap to go if they're quick enough to align. But the harder they scrap, the slower lap time is going to be, and they might not even get there as Bradbury tried to turn in, found Chadwick on his apex, now to really back out of it, and here comes Harvey Jones with a great run off of Sterling's, now back up towards the right-hander, under the bridge towards Clearways and Clark Kerr for the final time. Doble somehow has got back up to 3rd place. How has he done that on the last lap of the race? Meanwhile, up through Clearways and Clark Kerr for what could be the final time. Is the checkered flag being prepared? Across the line they go, and it is going to be, is it one more lap? Is it going to check a flag this time? No, it's one more lap. They're going to get one more time around, so they've only just got across the line, and they did it. If I can look at the race timer with, what was the race timer? doesn't tell me on the timing screen, but it's going to be one more lap to go then. So one more chance for Chadwick to hold on to this. It is 3 abreast for 4th place behind them. This is Jones. For 5th place, in fact, rather. Denison gets shuffled out wide, almost tags Britton, which he does. Off goes Britton into the barriers. He's out of it. He will go backwards down the hill and out of what could have been a solid top 10 finish. Doesn't get much luck in esports, does he, Lee Britton? He's back in the mix anyway. Now, this is the top 4 now. Chadwick, Bradbury, Doble and Jones all together. Out of Surtees, up the hill through Pilgrim's Drop, and now down towards the right-hander at Hawthorn. Also scrapped for 5th now between 2 Old Compact Cup adversaries. That's Daly and Kendall scrapping over 5th and 6th. And Denison, who was at one point looking at a podium place, is down to 7th. So important stuff here as Daly and Kendall go side by side in towards the Westfield. Off the road, the back has gone John Higgins Jr. by the looks of it. I saw the Aidan Hills coloured car off the road, and he was battling, I think, with Tom Griffith. So that could be him in the mix. There's a bit of lap traffic up in front, but I don't think they're going to catch it this late in the race as Doble holds on to 3rd place ahead of Jones. Chadwick trying to replicate what he did in race number 1 at Silverstone, which is hold on to the race lead and hold on for victory. He's got one more corner to do it. There is a back marker in front, but they're not going to catch them. There could be a last-minute switch for 3rd place if Jones can find a way past Doble here, who, remind you, of course, is a touring car driver, whereas Harvey Jones has been getting himself in the mix possibly for the Fiesta Juniors. Up towards the checker flag they go. It's going to be a 2nd victory of the season and a 1st of the evening for William Chadwick. He wins round 4 at Brands Hatch in the Winter Esports Series. It's 2nd for Bradbury, and at the line, Mikey Doble does just hold on from Harvey Jones by about half a tenth of a second. But hats off to Harvey Jones for his first appearance in the series. 4th place on his debut. A fantastic run from Harvey, and certainly one to watch out for, I'm sure, for the rest of the series if he contests it all. 5th goes to Stephen Daly, 6th to James Denison, 7th to Kendall. Then it's going to be Tibbs, Blackwell, Chambers and Griffiths round out the top 10. The rest of the field will come through and take the checker flag, but William Chadwick will certainly be happy with that, and it now already ties up the win tally. It's 2 apiece now between Bradbury and Chadwick. And of course, as the grid is set by the results of race 1 for race 2, it will put those 2 drivers back on the front row of the grid together, and I wonder if Bradbury might get the better jump down towards Paddock Hill Bend and maybe even go for victory. Well, that's how we kick things off for night number 2 of the Winter Esports Series for BRSCC. And an excellent job all round from everyone involved. 1 or 2 skirmishes towards the back, but the racing at the front was pretty clean, pretty intense, and pretty fair for most cases. Last few cars just coming across the line to take the checkered flag. A few more performances I should mention too. Let's have a look. Who else has done a decent job in their first run? I'd say shout out to a couple of our new drivers. Richard Frey, in fact, picked up 22nd. This is his first time driving the Brands Hatch circuit, he was telling us in a Discord server, and also the first time one of these MX-5. So to do that in 22nd place actually was a pretty impressive run. The biggest climber from where they started on the grid, that's a tie between Keith Dalton and Will Hopkins. Keith Dalton started 30th, finished 15th, and Will Hopkins started in 34th position, ended up 19th. So excellent stuff from both of them to climb as high as they did. The biggest loser in terms of positions, I should mention, is sadly John Pethick. He started up in 12th on the grid and ends up, no, it's further back than that, in fact, actually. Looks like it was 8th on the grid and ended up 26th in the end, so unfortunate for him. And a couple of the drivers that hit strife. Steve Roberts was involved in some early incidents, so was Finley Lyons, so was Matthew Parks, unfortunately. Chris Etheridge and Tom Selden we saw going off the road as he got caught up with James Roberts. But, as you mentioned, the grid is set for race number 2 by the finishing positions of race number 1. So just to recap them for the grid and for the result, it's William Chadwick who starts then on pole position, with Ted Bradbury alongside him on the front row of the grid. Mikey Doble and Harvey Jones take up the second row from Stephen Daly and James Denison. Then Matt Kendall and Andrew Tibbs, Will Blackwell Chambers and Tom Griffiths. That's the top 10 from race 1 to start race 2. Then it's Ben Sharp and Lee Britton on the 6th row of the grid from Richard Wooden and Isaac Doble. It's Keith Dalton and Will Redford in improved starting positions for Keith, but Redford down in 16th with some work to do from the 8th row. Then it's going to be Joe Doble and Ewan Charman from Will Hopkins and John Higgins Jr. after he had that late off in the Hawthorns gravel trap to start back in 20th. Ari Barker and Richard Frey will start on the 11th row together from Luke Herbert and Matt Dawkins, then Pete Smith and John Pethick, Reese Lewis and Chris Humphreys, and Tom Selden, Chris Etheridge, James Roberts, Tom Wanhemius, Matthew Parks, Stuart Lyons and Steve Roberts. Finley Lyons, not Stuart Lyons, and Steve Roberts round out the 35-car grid for tonight's event here at Brands Hatch. So, straight into race number 2 then, round 5 of the 2023-24 Winter Esports Series for BRSCC. Lights are out, and let's see who wins the whole shot this time for race number 2. It's a good start this time by Chadwick, measurably the better start than Ted Bradbury, and immediately Bradbury has to go defensive and cover off a fast-starting Doble, who holds on to third place. It looks like it's status quo for the first few positions. Round the outside for fifth already is looking Matt Kendall. And let's hope, fingers crossed, they all get through relatively trouble-free here. We seem to be getting through minding their P's and Q's on the first lap, as Harvey Jones is not wasting any time, is he? He's going for third and for second now down the hill towards Graham Hill Bend. He's gone round the outside of Ted Bradbury. Bradbury fights back on the inside through Graham Hill Bend, shuffles him out wide. Welcome to the esports series, Harvey, says Ted Bradbury. Holds his line, and now he comes Daly up the inside as Harvey Jones wiggles his way through Surtees and slips back to fifth position, but he's in the leading group still carrying on. Chadwick, meanwhile, is checking out in this first lap already. He's got a gap of roughly round about, it must be about a second or so at this point by the time they get to the split. Yeah, it's a second already at the front, I can see on the live timing screen here. Meanwhile, for second, there goes Bradbury up the inside, getting past Mike Doble, and he has made it stick. So Bradbury back up to second. And Chadwick, now he's got the gap, he's just trying to fly away here, but I'm certain if anyone can catch him, it's going to be that man in second place. I think to the slowdown penalty he has, so a slowdown penalty for Ted Bradbury for cutting the course. That's what can happen, and he had that at Silverstone as well. He had a couple of slowdown penalties. You're new to watching the iRacing scene in esports as he gets tapped behind by somebody that might have been Tom Griffiths, but out into the gravel goes Ted Bradbury, and after a slowdown penalty backed him up into the pack. That's now made his task for race number 2 even more treacherous. He's now thick in the middle of it as he gets back going again, but he's way down the order as the leaders come across the line to end lap number 1. So Chadwick will come across the line 1.3 seconds in front of anyone else at the start of lap number 2. Doble in second place, Daly in third, then it's Jones in fourth, and fifth place now to Matt Kendall. So at the moment, it is an MX-5 driver leading, but it's now the BMW Compact Cup Massive, shall we say, all up there in second, third, and fifth position because they're all stacking up between each other. Of course, how good it is to see, as we saw at Silverstone briefly, both Doble and Daly on track together in the virtual world and battling it out. Of course, the two outside of Gareth Claydon, prior to him, the two most recent Compact Cup champions, because Daly won the championship 5 times in a row, all the way from 2018 to 2017 to 2021, and then 2022 was Doble's title. And of course, 23 was Gareth Claydon. Now, off the road, I think, has gone Harvey Jones, because he's dropped back down the order. He's down to, 9th, 10th position. There goes James Dennison, there goes Redford, there goes Charman. So a problem for Harvey Jones, possibly getting shuffled around. Now, big question. We'll find out in the replay in a second here, so we'll see exactly what happened to Harvey. Here it comes. So let's look then. Coming down towards Surtees, he was in 4th position, just behind Stephen Daly, has a look to the inside. Daly goes defensive. Jones tries to make it stick, and the question, did he jump or was he pushed? Oh, he was pushed, unfortunately. But to be fair, tries to take his racing line, and I think trying to move across when really there wasn't too much room, and probably didn't even realise Daly was still there. So it's a fairly tame coming together. They've both carried on relatively unscathed, but Daly's down to 8th and Jones is down to 11th. So they've got some work to do now in this second race to get back up the order. Coming through the right-hander, you can see here we've got Griffiths, Sharp and Daly together. Daly tucked underneath Ben Sharp's rear bumper down towards Paddock Hill Bend to the outside line, taking, as Brian Jones would say, the high, wide and handsome line towards Paddock. And cut in, rumbling over the curbs. It's as close as you like on that rear bumper there for Stephen Daly. Really going for it now down the outside line. He might go for the switchback if he can try and find the inside gap exiting Druids Bend, but he can't quite make it stick there. So back down towards Graham Hill Bend they go, and it's still Griffiths, Sharp and Daly. It's a little wide there from Sharp and Griffiths, and that was Daly just spinning off into the barriers. It was. So Stephen Daly off the road on the exit of Graham Hill Bend, a little too aggressive on the exit of the corner. A little too wide over the rumble strips and put 2 wheels across too much, and that just lost him traction and speared him straight into the inside barrier. So sadly, Stephen Daly, his race number 2 has come to a rather premature end. If not, he's been towed straight back to the garage, and he's right back down the order for a fast repair. Looking back now from Andrew Tibbs, who was very quietly snuck up to 4th place in these opening couple of laps. So impressive stuff from Andrew as he turns his way now through the right hand. He's part of the Luke Herbert Racing stable. So number 28 machine up to 4th. He's ahead of the Rob Boston Racing Team driver of Will Blackwell Chambers, who was last year 2022's MX-5 Super Cup Pro Class champion, 2-time MX-5 Championship Mark 1 champion prior to that. So he's certainly one of those drivers who's got plenty of experience in MX-5 racing for real, and utilising all of that in the sim here as well. Through the right-hander at Clearways, up through McLaren, and back through Clark Curve again, and Tibbs almost was almost inviting Blackwell Chambers there to go up the inside line, saying, after you, Will, if you don't mind. I think he was possibly looking to try and get a toe up the hill again, but either way, either that's a slowdown, or he simply just lets him breeze by into 4th place because he realises that Will might be that little bit quicker. He might be able to use him to try and draft up to the rear of the top 3, who are starting to come back together again a little bit. Chadwick still leading by 1.1 seconds, and a further 0.6 back to Kendall in 3rd place, who's still chasing after Mikey Doble. There is William Chadwick, continuing to hold that advantage, and even on the exit of those first few corners going through, he's managed to find some half a second very quickly. So what it was 1.6 now 1.8, and that's the reason why, because Kendall's had a look up the inside to get 2nd place from Doble, and a better exit on the run out of the corner gives Doble the run he needs to try and hold on to the place if he can put himself alongside. Kendall has track position. Doble doesn't want to give it up that easy, looking back up the inside and towards Hawthorns. This could get messy, but Kendall holds his line and holds firm around the outside. So good old Matt to try and stick this one out. But Doble not taking no for an answer. Back up the inside he goes to slot by into 2nd place on the exit of Westfield. There he goes. Now, fast snap of the race, meanwhile, has been taken by Will Redford. 137.757. He's currently scrapping for position in 9th place with James Dennison. And Harvey Jones is also in there too. So Redford's up to 8th and Jones has got up to 9th. Dennison looks like he's been shuffled down the order to 13th. Looks like he's had an issue because he's tumbling down the timing screen. As we see here, Will Redford up to 8th in the Apex Racing Academy car with the Nyan meme emblazoned upon that. It's quite a unique paint scheme, but I was possibly expecting him to run his Pro Alloys skin from the Civic Cup this year, but he's gone for something a little more humorous. And certainly, it's certainly working out quite well for him in terms of pace, because he's quite wide there. But be careful you don't run too wide over those curbs, because of course you can start getting penalties or marking it off tracks too much. If you do it too much, you can get disqualified. If you keep on cutting too much, you can even find yourself getting slowdown penalties, as Ted Bradbury did on that opening lap, and he saw him tumble down the order and eventually get caught up with somebody that saw him dumped into the gravel at Stirling. So he's got some work to do to try and get back up the order, and Bradbury is not even showing him a top 25. He might have escaped from this first race. He has, so out of the race, sadly. Whilst all of that's gone, Ted Bradbury back in 31st position. Looks like one of the other 2 cars that have been caught up in some issues, like Joe Doble, Will Hopkins, and even Stephen Daly. I think they are back out on track, but they're a lap down already, having quickly been fast towed back to the pits. So they've got plenty of work to do to try and pick their way back up the order for race number 3, because they're going to be quite far down the grid, back towards the base of the top 30. Just remind you that there is a partially reversed grid for race number 3. I believe it's the top 10 that gets reversed. So if that's the case, then of all people to find themselves on the reverse grid pole, it would be Isaac Doble, who was on the front row of the grid for race number 3 at Silverstone and led for half the race until he had that spin exiting Vale Corner and Club. He pushed him right down the order, but he was possibly on course for a fantastic win if he could make that stick. He's currently battling away for 9th place with Harvey Jones, who was on the recovery trail after he had his mishaps. He had that little tangle that came together on the exit of Surtees with Stephen Daly in the early stages. So lots to do. But meanwhile, this is the scrap for 2nd place, and it's the ex-Compact Cup champion versus the current Compact Cup racer. These 2 certainly have got a little bit of history, having raced against each other on track. Maybe not directly, but at least on the same grid for a couple of seasons prior. And the gap at the front is continuing to stretch out even more. Will Chadwick has got a gap now of 3.3 seconds out in front. So that's the benefit of not having too many battles to contend with. And Chadwick not even on the screen. You could just see him just creeping on the horizon there just in front, as we continue to chase after Mikey Doble in car number 1. He was going to run his regular number 65, I think, but instead we said to him, well, you are the defending series winner, so you can run number 1 if you wish. He went, oh, go on then. If I can, I'll run number 1 and try and defend it. But he certainly had to do some plenty of defending on track here, at least, for 2nd place. Also getting to the mix there now are both Will Blackwell Chambers and Andrew Tibbs. As we saw Tibbs sort of make an easy path for Blackwell Chambers. I'm getting the words mixed up. For Blackwell Chambers in 4th position. As they start to stack up here, Blackwell Chambers possibly sent to the podium as they come through. The right-hander at Sheen, back from Stirling again. They're coming up to the 2/3 distance in this 2nd race, and still a possibility for 2nd, 3rd and 4th to change, but at the moment it seems as though William Chadwick has absolutely checked out in front. Cap looking pretty strong. Now at the back of this queue of cars is Will Redford, and also trying to chase after him there, trying to catch up into the fun, once again, is Harvey Jones in the black and green car at the back of the field. You can see him just there as we continue to watch Will Redford, who's trying to pick up a place for 7th. This will be on car 24, which is Ben Sharp. So these two have battled back and forth previously in the Civic Cup circles, and they're going to go wheel to wheel now on the run approach towards Druids, just in behind Tom Griffiths. But Ben Sharp runs wide, up the inside goes Redford, and through into P7 goes the Civic Cup racer. And his next target will be MX-5 Super Cup star Tom Griffiths in car number 20, in car number 60. I should mention that Tom Griffiths is actually racing in honour of a rather special fallen friend, sadly, because for those in the motorsport circles will know that we very sadly lost a former single-seater racer in Jake Cook, very sadly. And obviously our thoughts and the best wishes go to his family and friends there. But he's running number 60 tonight, as Jake Cook was his good friend when they both ran in Ginetta Juniors. We lost him a few weeks ago, and he was a top guy and a brilliant driver across both Ginettas and Formula Fords. And to tie it in his first 2 car racing wins at Brands, to tie it in his first 2 ever car racing wins were at Brands Hatch too. So although it's a small gesture, Tom appreciated it would be good to give him a mention. So we're giving Tom and Jake a mention. Of course, rest in peace to Jake, and of course our best wishes and condolences to his friends, family, and those he's left behind. And of course, it's a very wonderful gesture from Tom and from his people to make that happen. For Tom and those involved with him to make that happen, and to run cut number 60 in his honour tonight. I'm sure he'd be wanting to try and get himself a strong result here if he can, to honour him in the right way. So we've got just under 3.5 minutes to go now. This group for second place is starting to stack up a little bit more, with Kendall, who has squeezed past second place. Whilst we were talking there has been a change for second place. Kendall now past Doble. But how much more of these cars behind going to start to really increase the pressure here on these two? And we'll actually give you a replay here if we can. So we'll give you a quick recap to see exactly how that happened. This is the move that Kendall pulled on Doble. It was down the hill from Pilgrim's Drop towards Hawthorns. He just lined him up, looked to the inside line, and it doesn't look as though Doble fought him too hard, but we'll see here as they get towards the bottom of the hill. And up the inside, and that was a very simple pass. It looked like Doble knew exactly when to slot it and say, look, I'm not going to fight it too hard, because if we do, it could be a one-way ticket for both of us to being off the road. But now it's roles reversed, because now this time it's Doble on the attack in exactly the same scenario, exactly the same situation, exactly the same kind of pass, and it's literally a carbon copy of what we had a lap ago, only it is literally Kendall losing the place back to Doble this time. So Kendall has a taste of his own medicine there, but it looks as though I think they're just trying to play a bit of a battle here, but I think in the back of their minds they also know that the harder they fight each other, the easier it is for Chadwick to continue to make a break here out in front. Coming up to just over 2 minutes to go left in this second race of the evening. Remember, the top 10 is reversed, and that will put Isaac Doble and Harvey Jones on the front row of the grid together. As Chadwick continues to absolutely spread eagle the field here at Brands Hatch. 4.2, 4.3 seconds is the gap. He is comfortably out in front. And he'll come across the line to start, won't be the last lap of the race, because he might still have this and one more lap to go. So I think 2 more laps left in the tank for the leader. As for the battle of a second backwards continues on. This is Andrew Tibbs scrapping away with Tom Griffiths. Griffiths up to 5th, and a twitch there for Andrew Tibbs. I'm not sure if there was a small tag there from Redford, but Tibbs again defensive, and was that Redford in the back of him possibly? Tibbs goes skating over the grass, misses everyone thankfully. Up the inside of everyone goes Harvey Jones to get past both Tibbs, and possibly also he was trying to get through up the inside of Ben Sharp. And Sharp that got the nudge, forgive me. So Sharp was the one that got the nudge. And it is Tibbs now 3 wide there with Redford and Jones. Jones up the inside, clashes into the side of Tibbs, and he gets a shove from Redford. He gets an elbow there from Sharp. They're all over each other here on the exit. They're 2 by 2 like Noah's Ark on the exit through Pilgrim's Drop. But through all of that, getting 3 places in as many corners, goes Harvey Jones. That's now him up into 6th position. It now puts Will Redford on the front row of the grid for the reverse grid top 10. Oh, he's now wiggling onto the rear end of Andrew Tibbs, gave him a little bit of a nudge. Be careful, Will, because no doubt he's quick, but he sometimes gets a little bit sort of too overexcited in some of these races and seems to lose points a little bit. And that's one of the things when I remember talking to him in some of the interviews in last season. He was talking about how the pace was there, but he just allowed his excitement or his enthusiasm or just his sometimes on-track aggression to get a little the better of him and just losing out on key results. But there's no doubt that he's a very quick driver, and he was second in last year's inaugural series. Just says that all in terms of how quick a driver he is. And of course, in the real world, he's been quite a formidable racer in the Civic Cup, and having won at least a couple of races to boot on top of that as well. So he certainly is quite the racer to watch for in the sim and in the real world too. Here's the rear shot from Harvey Jones, looking back at Ben Sharp. Sharp just closing back under braking. Is he going to line him up here for a move down the hill? Running wide on the exit. Very wide in fact there for Sharp. This gives a chance for Tibbs to look up the inside. A very easy move for him. And Redford goes diving through too and knocks on the door and says, excuse me, can I come through as well? He's thinking about it. He's certainly almost alongside to come back down the hill again. And Redford is holding on to ninth. He's watching these two scrap amongst each other. Gets a good run. The pair of them gets past Sharp. Now looks to try and get past Tibbs here, and Tibbs is defending for Sharp. He's so busy looking at that here goes Redford looking right round the outside. Will he be there in the right place to be, or will he be stuck out, hung up to dry on the outside? The answer is he's got past Ben Sharp. Tibbs has held on to the place too, but now he's under massive pressure from Will Redford down the hill through Pilgrim's Drop and back towards Hawthorns again. The inside line to defend. Redford goes on the attack. Meanwhile, just continuing to spread eagle the field is Will Champion right in front. We now come back through here to the battle for second, third and fourth. They're still trying to chase after here. Doble holds on to second place, Kendall third, Blackwall Chambers fourth. They charge their way through over the crest at Sheen Curve and back towards Stirling again. They're going to be right back all the way to the checker flag. It might well be a photo finish. Make sure to get the cameras out. This could be a close one between these two for second, third and fourth. These three, in fact. The Blackwall Chambers could be in a prime seat here to steal one of those places if it comes to blows. Through the right-hander, through Clearways and up through Park Curve for the final time. Up to the checker flag will come William Chadwick. He will take his second win of the night, his third of the season so far, and he dominates race round 5 and race 2 of the night by 5 seconds at the checker flag. An incredible performance. He will have to start back in 10th for race number 3. And it's Doble who beats Kendall to the line by about 0.08 of a second at the checker flag. Doble takes second, Kendall third, Blackwall Chambers fourth, and Tom Griffiths rounds out the top 5. Harvey Jones gets a strong 6th, and it's Andrew Tibbs, Will Redford, Ben Sharp and Isaac Doble, who should be on the reverse grid top 10 pole position, having finished in P10. So he has another chance here at redemption after missing out on victory at Silverstone. Watch out for him if he can make that happen. So, excellent performance once again from Will Chadwick. And that's more strong points towards the series. And more strong finishes in the end. More cars coming across the line to take the checkered flag as we get set for our third and final race coming up very shortly. And we'll go through the results as well when that comes up on the screen. At least I can give you the rundown in terms of the result on my timing screen. So William Chadwick then, victorious in race number 2, and that was by 5 seconds in the end for Mikey Doble in second place and Matt Kendall in third. Then Will Blackwall Chambers and Tom Griffiths round out the top 5 as we see a couple of our stragglers towards the end taking the checker flag with a little bit of damage in the end. So Chadwick victorious, Doble second, Redford third, Bradbury fourth, and no, Bradbury wasn't fourth, was he? That was probably one of the top lap times in terms of where they were, but we'll run through the result. We've got a bit of a warm-up here. We've got a bit of a cool-down in terms of race number 2 before we get things set and ready to go for race number 3. And whilst that's happening, we've got an opportunity for some of these drivers just to get a last little sort of check-in with the car, see how it's all working, just get themselves set for one more 15-minute thrash around the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit. Of course, this is the last race of 2023 of this winter series. Of course, the next 4 races are all going to be in 2024. And just remembering that the next run in the event is going to be towards the beginning of January. So we see a couple of the cars here just get themselves warmed up in the warm-up, quite fittingly. Just whilst we're on this break, just a quick mention to those involved to say a thank you to basically everyone who's competed in BRSCC competitions and taken part in the race weekends, whether they've been an official, a marshal, a team member, a driver, a supporter, anything else. Just a big thank you to everyone who has been a supporter or a competitor or someone who has taken part or been a part of a BRSCC race weekend throughout 2023. Very much appreciated for the support, for all our drivers, for all our team members for being on track and bringing us some more memorable moments up and down the grid. To our fantastic marshals as well. Of course, we've got one of them on the grid, James Humphreys, who's been racing. He's a keen sim racer alongside his duties in motorsport as one of the Orange Army. And a big thank you to everyone who is a marshal in motorsport. And it's a phrase we use a lot, and there was a nice social media post that went through on the BRSCC channels just this week, just saying thank you to the marshals. And again, this is a very commonly used phrase, but it's absolutely true, is that without marshals we simply couldn't go racing, full stop. And they put a lot of dedication and time and effort into the sport they love, and for that they make sure that race events in the real world can run as smoothly as possible. So thank you and it's events like this also that gives them the chance, it being BRSCC members, to get involved and to race against some of the drivers who they might even be waving flags for in the real world. So good to see Chris on the grid, and hopefully we'll see in the future, for future esports competitions for BRSCC, maybe a few more marshals can get involved, and possibly see a bit of an internal competition, an official one, between each of them and any future series going forward. So of course looking forward to next year, of course, for BRSCC. The schedules for just about all the championships that are running are now available. If you want to find out information on any of the championships and series that run within BRSCC, you can head to the website, which is brscc.co.uk, and you can head to the Formula section and see the full roster of all the championships and series that run with BRSCC, including, for next year, of course, for the first time, a new partnership with Ginetta Cars. So that'll be fun to see, as they, of course, will retain their spot as a support championship to the Intelligent Money British GT Championship. Of course, they'll have their own Ginetta G-Fest, which BRSCC will organise for the first time. That will take place at Anglesey in the summer. And also on top of that, the Ginetta Juniors will also have a round away from their regular running for their next round, where instead of them running on the same weekend as... No, they'll run at G-Fest, but what they'll also do is that they will also run at Silverstone on the TCR UK weekend, on the same weekend as another established junior series, which of course is Fiesta Juniors. So the first time I think that both of those championships will have ever been on the same weekend together on the same package. Speaking of Fiesta Juniors, I should mention, as I've said a few times, about in particular Harvey Jones. Of course, there is the 2024 BRSCC Fiesta Juniors Scholarship. So if you have a young racer aged 14 to possibly 16 or 17 years old that wants to see if they can possibly bag themselves a fully funded season's worth of racing in a Mark 7 Fiesta Junior race car, courtesy of Proalloys Racing, and support from BTCC star and driver coach for the winner, Josh Cook. Also supporting the sim from BRSCC sim partners at Sim Motorsport and other supported other areas of the package that will provide support. You can head to the website and click the banner where you can find out more about how to enter. If you are a young driver or someone who is a parent of a young driver that wants to take part in that, you can do so by heading to the website brscc.co.uk. There is the banner towards the top which says you can link through to the Fiesta Junior Scholarship event page. Find out everything that you need to know about that, and of course, if you want to enter, you can do so. And who knows, if whoever enters it could be an entry that ends up winning that fantastic prize of being first ever BRSCC Fiesta Junior Scholar. So the warm-up session continues on here at Brands Hatch ahead of round 6. Third race of the evening of the second event of the BRSCC Winter Esports Series. Okay, thank you to Will Blackwell Chambers and Matt Kendall for their support as admins to Hydro Race. Of course, you can see on the screen for their support of the series, and I believe the highest scoring racer of each round receives a Hydro Race bottle courtesy of them as well, which is great to see. So we'll see who can pick that one up. But here's the grid for race number 3. As I mentioned, top 10 is reversed for the result of race 2. So Isaac Doble does start from pole position alongside Ben Sharp on the front row of the grid. It's Will Redford and Andrew Tibbs on the second row, followed by Harvey Jones and Tom Griffiths. Then Will Blackwell Chambers and Matt Kendall, followed by Mikey Doble, and double winner for tonight, Will Chadwick, starts back in 10th. Then it's Ewan Charman and Ari Barker on the 6th row of the grid, followed by Finley Lyons and Richard Wooden. Luke Herbert and Keith Dalton come next on the 8th row, followed by John Pettick and John Higgins Jr. Then Pete Smith and Chris Etheridge round out the top 20 for Reese Lewis and Chris Humphreys. And Tom Selden and Richard Frey for Matt Dawkins and Joe Doble. He's way back in 26th with a lot of work to do, as do a few fast names in the grid. You can see the likes of as well Will Hopkins, you see Stephen Daly back there in 30th on the grid, Ted Bradbury 31st as well, and also Lee Britton 33rd, so watch for them. Try and pick their way up the order from deep in the pack. They've only got 15 minutes to do it, but it is quite a big circuit at Brands Hatch GP. They'll have plenty of space to do so if they can. Right, the lights have gone out. We're away in racing 4, round number 6 of the 23-24 BRSCC Winter Esports Series. And a good start from the front row by Ben Sharp. He might have the outside hole shot in towards Paddock Hill Bend, but in towards Paddock they go, and it is Isaac Doble who leads with a strong start from pole position. To the outside line looks Ben Sharp, but he's got his Civic Cup racing rival Will Redford to the inside for second place. Bit of a lag spike there for Isaac. He disappears for a split second, but he's back in the mix. And the brakes in towards Graham Hill Bend. Always to the back from there with Ben Sharp. A little wiggle there from Andrew Tibbs, and a quick run that down the outside for Harvey Jones, who really is on his toes here. He looks to the outside for third place, but he's boxed in with cars all around him. He's got Griffiths to his outside. To his left, he had Andrew Tibbs. Or Griffiths was behind him, I should say. Rather, oops, there's contact in the back. That was Tom Griffiths. Well, Chadwick's involved in that as well. Also is Andrew Tibbs. There's 3 or 4 cars in the mix. Up and over goes, I think, Will Blackwell Chambers. Tom Selden's in that as well, I think. There's cars all over the road, and unfortunately, that's not what anyone wants to see. And I'm afraid there are several cars that have really hit stride, but the big casualty in that was double race winner and effectively championship leader currently, Will Chadwick. He is involved in that. His chances of race victory are gone. And unfortunately, he will not get the hat-trick tonight here. Other cars involved, Lee Britton, Andrew Tibbs, Will Blackwell Chambers was involved in that, Chris Etheridge, Richard Frey, Will Hopkins, unfortunately, in there too. So too was Stephen Daly, I think. Stephen Daly, I think, trying to get out of that, and Ted Bradbury. There's more cars involved in that too as well. Oh, come on, lads. It's race number 3. It's not the end of the season. Come on. There's Isaac Doble, Joe Doble was involved in that too. Almost like end of school for these guys, isn't it? But thankfully, at the front of the field, everyone appears to be minding their P's and Q's a bit more, it seems. Towards the front they go. It's now Isaac Doble who leads the way, but here comes Will Redford to the outside for the race lead, looking for the high, wide and handsome line towards Paddock Hill Bend. There he goes. Takes the high line on the outside through Paddock. Can he make it stick? Almost, but Doble's there alongside him as they run side by side up the hill, under the bridge. Redford turns in, but Doble still is still there on the apex and holds on to the place. So Isaac Doble does not relinquish the lead. I'm sure there's I'm sure Mikey Doble watching that ahead in 5th position. I'm sure there's a small wry smile thinking, good on you, Isaac, as Will Redford runs wide, and here comes Harvey Jones now for 2nd place. The 2 of the young guns in the field, Isaac Doble and Harvey Jones to 1st and 2nd place. It's now Civic Cup drivers at play for 3rd and 4th, but maybe not anymore. It's not. Round goes Ben Sharp, and in sympathy goes Mikey Doble too. So both of them didn't tag each other. At least there might have been a possible bit of netco, but at the very least, both cars spun in sympathy of each other. Ben Sharp lost it on his own, and Mikey Doble just lost it in tandem moments later. So lots of the front runners, and well, that was a bit tasty. Ben Sharp was getting back onto the road and almost nose to the side of Mikey Doble's car as well. So a lot of the front runners here hitting massive strife here. There's a few, the top 10 looks very topsy-turvy from what we've seen before. So Isaac Doble still leads, Harvey Jones still 2nd place, Redford's up to 3rd, Ewan Charman is 4th, and some of these drivers getting a chance to shine here. 5th is Harry Barker for the Team Northbrook Racing Squad. 6th is Richard Wotton. 7th is Matt Kendall. He's up to 7th now on that point. 8th is now James Dennison. 9th is John Pethick. He started way back down the order. And 10th at the moment is Matthew Parks. Biggest riser is James Dennison, starting 28th. He's up 20 places, up to 8th at the moment. And he's only, how far is he off the lead into 8th position? He is off by about 7 or 8 seconds or so. Keep fighting like this, they'll catch them in no time. Almost 3 abreast casually for 3rd place as Isaac Doble's been shuffled down. So it's going to change here. Who's in the lead now? It is, well, it looks like it's possible. Is that Etheridge into the lead? Or is it Charman? We'll figure it out in a second. There's a lot going on here at the front of the field. No, there's 1 or 2 cars towards the back. I think there's Etheridge who is staying out of the way. Harvey Jones now leads it because there are cars all over the place in front of him. That's lapped cars in front that were confusing me. But Harvey Jones then to the lead here in race number 3. Paul Redford in 2nd place. Isaac Doble down to 3rd. Ewan Charman looks up the inside for a podium place. 3 goes in the white and red car. A good move from Ewan then up into P3. Also in there too is Harry Barker, and Isaac Doble down to 4th. Harry Barker's 5th, Richard Wootton's back in P6. Some of the other cars that were involved in incidents and trying to pick their way up the order. Let's see if there's any more big risers. We've had Matthew Parks in P10. Should mention James Roberts into 14th. He started back in, what was that, 32nd place he started. 32nd place up to 14th through all of that. Could be a clean top 15 finish for James Roberts if he can keep his nose clean for the rest of this race. Impressive if he can. As Will Redford goes on the attack here for the race lead on Harvey Jones. Back through Sterling. And after that very frenetic and very energetic first couple of laps, they all seem to have just calmed down a little bit now from race number 3. I think some drivers getting a little bit too overexcited more than others by the look of it, but everyone seems to be just at a better pace at this point now. Everyone's calmed down a bit more. Matt Kendall's on the move. He's up the inside there, Richard Wotton. Nice easy move slipping by for P6. He's got James Dennison in the purple MX-5 just behind, trying to follow suit. He's up the inside for the lead. Looks Will Redford. Change for P1 into Paddock Hill Bend. And through goes Will Redford, but for how much longer? Has Jones got the run on the inside line, it looks, or has he slotted back in behind? You see the track position means he is going for the inside line. Redford has to give him space, and they're going to be side by side exiting Druids down towards Graham Hill Bend once again. Redford goes back, diving back down the inside. And there goes Jones back again for the cutback, if he can move past. But again, Redford sees it coming. Back to the inside he goes. And here comes Ewan Charman of all places. Jones again dives to the inside. Charman takes the race line to sweep back wide through the right left-hander at Surtees. Back to where we started. There's more lap traffic in front. Number 26, Chris Humphries, right down the order. He's going to the fright of his life in a second. He's got the leaders bearing down on him any second. Down the hill towards Hawthorns. Redford in the lead now, but going defensive, and into the right-hander they go. They're going to hold on. Will do just about. Isaac Noble back into fourth now as they're all over each other here. There's the unsuspecting Chris Humphries. Get the Jaws music out, because he should have stayed out of the water, because he's got an angry pack of sharks behind him coming here in the form of the race leaders. This is a great shot, in fact, actually, looking back at Chris Humphries, watching them get closer and closer behind him as they battle amongst each other. This is a great camera view, actually, watching these top six go through. Chris Humphries runs wide, tried to stay out of it, and he gets by Harvey Jones. That was simply just Harvey Jones did put this in there. Chris Humphries, I think to be fair, tried as best he could to pass the way. And Harvey Jones, unfortunately, is the big casualty from that one. So another of the front runners out of it after getting caught up in somebody else instead of race number 3. I'm sure that there'll be frustration for Harvey, and I'm sure that Chris will feel quite not guilty, but he'll feel quite disappointed in that side of things. But he did the best he could to keep out of the way, just ran wide, lost the back end of the car, and round it went. So, back to the front, a slightly different race here. Redford now leads. It's now Ewan Charman in second place. This is not the top 5 I envisioned in this race, I'll be honest. It is Redford from Charman, from Doble, from Barker in 4th position. 5th now is Matt Kendall in the white MX-5 towards the back. There's Harvey Jones in the pit lane, I think, trying to get that car fast repaired if he can. Yeah, which he has done just now. He'll try and get it back out as quickly as possible. Any others doing a very quick tyre change here as well. Meanwhile, side by side, here comes Ewan Charman looking for the race victory here. Just gone past half distance here. He's still got 7.5 minutes to go plus change in this third race of the night. And Charman putting on a real effort here to try and squeeze his way through if he can. And there goes Charman. Redford, we squeeze him to the edge of the road. There's defensive, and then there's that from Will Redford, but he holds on to the place nonetheless. So Charman thinks, right, if that's how you want to play, if it's going to be hardball, I'll try another way next time. The right-hander over the curb at Sheen. Twitch of oversteer as they just rumble over those rumble strips. Now through Sterling. This car looking a little bit loose as they come back towards the end of another lap, and Charman just sensing an opportunity here. Is he possibly just getting a bit frustrated or just trying to hold on to a place if he can? But it's 15 minutes, so if it was a longer race, he might be able to sit back and just try and push on and build a bit of a gap. But when it's a 15-minute race, as close and as action-packed as on a circuit like Brands Hatch in cars like MX-5s, you don't have a second to just sit back and play the patient game and play the waiting game here. You have to take every opportunity that you can to try and make it through. And again, Charman thought about it on the inside line, but Redford sweeps across and takes the racing line into Druids as the top 4 start to stack up. The car behind them there, I think that's Chris Etheridge, so that's not a car for position. That is in fact a car that's a lap back but running an okay pace with the current race leaders. Matt Dawkins is down the black car just in front, another of the lap cars, and it is Chris Etheridge in there in the hashtag Blessed livery car. It's the same livery that they run on their Citroen C1 Endurance Series car. Down the hill, and again, just things have just relaxed a tiny bit here, which is not often you say that in a R-Racing MX-5 race, that's for sure. William Chadwick, though, back in 10th position after his adventures. He's into the top 10 now, looking to try and make a move on Matt Parks. And Matt is one of the bigger movers in the field. He's up 18 spots. The biggest mover is James Dennison. He started back in 28th position, up to 6th, so 22 spots gained in this one. The biggest car that's dropped down the most is Ben Sharp. He started on the front row of the grid in second place. He's down 29 places and a laps down, at least a couple of laps down, in 31st place on the road at the moment. Also way down, of course, are the likes of Ted Bradbury and Steve Roberts and Stephen Daly, also who got caught into incidents. So there goes Will Chadwick, again, not wasting any time at all, muscling his way through at Sterling's to get up into 9th position at the expense of Matt Parks. And meanwhile, this is change for the lead. No, Will Redford's managed to escape, because now Ewan Charman under big pressure from the cars behind him. This is now for 2nd, 3rd and 4th. You kind of have to ignore Chris Etheridge in the white, pink and yellow car towards the back of this 4-car pack. He is way down the order, but not far behind. Keep an eye for the 2 cars behind him in the distance. That is Matt Kendall bringing James Dennison with him, and they are battling over 5th and 6th position. They're just at the top of the shot. There they are. Kendall in the white MX-5, Dennison in the purple MX-5. And I remind you again that Dennison has made up 22 positions from where he started, from 28th to 6th, through all the melee of the first couple of laps. Keeping it clean and tidy is one of the big strategies, particularly when you're racing these cars in the rookie ranks of iRacing. It's one of the things they tell you. Don't worry about lap times, don't worry about positions, don't worry about trying to pass somebody. Just keep the car on the road, keep it steady, keep it clean, get the car to the finish, and you can actually pick up plenty of positions, more than you think, because there are some drivers who will go gung-ho in the first couple of races, particularly when you're racing these in the rookie ranks on the public servers. And just simply some cars don't make it to the first lap, and you can start even for the pit lane. You can still finish in the top 10 or top 15, depending on the field, on the strength of field that you're up against. You can really make some progress just from keeping your nose clean and just keeping out of trouble, and that's exactly what Dennison's done, doing a fine job of avoiding all the melee and the fracas that was going on around him on those first couple of laps to pick his way up the pack and into a very strong top 10 position. Will Redford, meanwhile, has got himself a little bit of luck in these MX-5s in this series, because he's now out in front by about 3.3 seconds at this point. He's put the lapped car of Matt Dawkins between himself and the rest of the car scrapping over second, third and fourth. Charman does hold on to second place, and Doble's into third. So as they come into Paddock Hill Bend again, we're just over 3 minutes on the clock plus change left to go in this final race of the night. It's going to be quite an unexpected top 10, I can tell you that, but it might well start to kick off a second, because I can see that both Matt Kendall, I just saw for a second, and James Dennison are right at the back of that queue. The anomaly, bless him, is the hashtag blessed car of Chris Etheridge in that car fourth on the train. There it is, the blue, yellow and purple car with the black flashes towards the bottom of it's like a multicoloured car in the mix. His car is way down the order in 20th. Yeah, 20th in the order, so he's actually a lap down on the leaders. So it's now the job of both Kendall and Dennison. If they can pick their way past him, there's an opportunity here for them to start to squeeze themselves into the mix and maybe even get a podium if they can play their cards right. It might work out for Doble in a second, because Isaac Doble is going for what could be second place. He was darting around left and right behind the white and red machine of Ewan Charman in car number 45. As they make their way out through Westfield, surely the primary task now for Kendall and for Dennison is to squeeze past Etheridge. Of course, with a lapped car, it's down to the faster car behind to make their own way around here, so they can't just expect the lapped car to move out of the way. There is the element of not holding them up, but at the same time, it's up to the faster car to find their way around them on track to make that move on track to take the position. At the moment, to be fair, Etheridge is keeping pace with the cars around him. He doesn't need to move out of the way. Yes, there are blue flags, but he's ultimately running at the same sort of pace. So I think once he's not holding up too much, he should be fine. In fact, he gets the message now, and very smartly lets both Kendall and Dennison through. It's good driving there from Chris. Well done. So I think he's just not too. You can get to a point where if you continuously ignore blue flags and there's a car that's obviously faster than you don't at least possibly make some kind of an effort to move out of the way. Typically, it is, if you're the faster car coming up behind you, it's the job of the slower car to stay where they are and to be predictable and to let the faster car make their way through. But in that scenario, it was probably more beneficial for Etheridge to move out of the way, not being involved in that fight, just letting them carry on amongst themselves. So it's now become a 5-car scrap for second and third place here between Ewan Charman, Isaac Doble, Ari Barker, Matt Kendall and James Dennison. Those 5 cars right behind Matt Dawkins here, who are riding on board with looking back at, they are scrapping over the podium places. Will Redford, meanwhile, is nearly 5 seconds ahead, and they are going to get the checker flag this time by, because the checker flag has just popped up next to the timer in the top left of the screen. This will be the last lap of the race, and we won't get one more time around by the look of it. So this means as we come towards the end of a lap, it's now literally action stations for everyone scrapping for the podium. And now you can see Isaac Doble having a look. He's got the run here with Ewan Charman up the inside, Exton Westfield, up through Dingledale towards Sheen Curve, round the outside. They go side by side. That's brave if you can do that. 2 wheels on the grass for Charman, but he keeps his foot in. Back up the inside for Sterling and holds on to second place. Round the outside looks Kendall. He's under threat now from Dennison. They're going to be side by side for position for 5th, down towards the right hander for the final time. They're going to come across the line. Is it going to be checker flag? I think he will be this time by. There's going to be the scramble from a line here. Cross the line goes Will Redford. He takes victory in round number 6 of the eSports series for BRSCC. As for second, third, fourth, fifth and sixth, all together now across the line. That's pretty close, but it's going to be Charman and Doble on the podium, only just. So Charman second, Doble third, Barker fourth, Kendall fifth and Dennison sixth. All of them covered by about 7/10 of a second between them at the checkered flag. That was excellent close racing. A little bit scruffy in the first couple of laps with incidents between some of the major front runners, including double race winner Will Chadwick, I'm certain, would have been leading the championship coming into race number 6 tonight after his 2 race victories ahead of Bradbury. He was involved in that first lap skirmish, and that means that it's allowed some other drivers to benefit and take some strong results. So really good efforts from Ewan Sharman and Isaac Doble. Ari Barker, good stuff from him as well too, and Matt Kendall and James Dennison. A few good drivers in here too as well. A few more drivers down the order. We've also got in there James Dennison 6th, Richard Wooten 7th. William Chadwick got back up to 8th after involvement in the incident. He still gets some solid points in 8th place. It's 9th for John Pethick, 10th for Finley Lyons, and a shout out to James Roberts also. 11th from starting, 32nd on the grid, makes up 21 places and crosses the line in 11th place. Excellent stuff as Matthew Parks, number 38 car, looks rather second-hand, but never mind, it's iRacing. It's the end of the race, so you can tell it's the end of the night, so they're all going a little bit silly now across the line, as you tend to get in some iRacing races. Race is over. It's obviously a virtual race car, so you can technically do what the hell you like with it. Once the cars cross the line, you're not racing for the rest of the night. But either way, it's been quite an entertaining 3 races. I'm certain this is going to be a big shake-up, particularly race number 3 in terms of points scored. Some drivers getting towards the front, and it may well start to close things up quite handsomely by the time we get to the next round into 2024. So looking at some other results, there's some other drivers who could and should have been a bit higher but got involved in incidents. Harvey Jones, of course, was one of them. 15th, but certainly he has had an evening to be proud of, at least in those first 2 races, being right up there in the mix. Other drivers who did suffer some misfortune: Will Blackwood Chambers, Mikey Doble, of course, on top of that as well. He got involved in incidents on the first lap. Ben Sharp as well, Ted Bradbury, Stephen Daly. Bad luck on their part getting involved, but in the end, it was Will Redford who picked his way through, and he finally gets a bit of good luck in this series. He gets victory in race number 3 of the night, round 6 of the BRSCC Winter Esports Series, with Ewan Sharman in 2nd place. Isaac Doble rounds out the podium in 3rd. Then Ari Barker, Matt Kendall, and James Dennison rounded off the top 6, with those 5 cars from 2nd to 6th, separated by just 7/10 of a second at the checkered flag. Brilliant stuff. Richard Wooten 7th. Will Chadwick recovers after his first lap skirmish to pick up 8th. From John Pethick and Finley Lyons, not Stuart, but Stuart we're very pleased with his efforts to get a top 10 finish. James Roberts, I think one of the drivers of the event so far. A great clean effort of him to pick up 21 places from 32nd to 11th. Good job from James. Then it's Joe Doble for 12th, Tom Monhemius takes 13th, Matthew Parks 14th, and Harvey Jones on his debut rounds it off with a disappointing 15th, but I think an even to be proud of for Harvey. Good stuff from him. 16th for Keith Dalton, 17th for Lee Britton, 18th for Mikey Doble after his misfortunes, then 19th for Chris Etheridge from Tom Griffiths, who rounds out the top 20. Then Andrew Tibbs, Luke Herbert, Richard Frey, Tom Selden, Reese Lewis, Pete Smith, Will Blackwell Chambers. Some more of those front runners that got involved in things: Mikey Doble, Chris Humphreys, Will Hopkins, Ben Sharp, John Higgins Jr., then Ted Bradbury and Steve Roberts. Of course, Stephen Daly also hitting strife as well on top of that too. And breathe, because that was quite a action-packed 3 race. I think we might possibly have 1 or 2 drivers in the serve we can possibly bring in to have a mention. We've got a couple. So let's see if we can grab, first of all, Will Chadwick, first of all, to have a quick chat. He's at least waiting, so we can at least have a word with him. So let's see if we can possibly, I think, if we can drag him in. That's that one, Joshua. So let's have a chat with Will Chadwick then. Will, an amazing night for you. Quite an evening of 2 halves, really. You had those 2 fantastic races that saw you take race 1 victory by quite a tight margin, race 2 at a canter, and then race 3 was pretty much a fight back through the field after a very messy first couple of laps. But just on the whole, I think an even that you could be incredibly proud of.
Yeah, I think I executed pretty well. There was not much I could do in race 3 with the crash, but, you know, these things happen in sim racing. So it's not too big of a deal. You just move on and you try and do the best that you can do with whatever car you have after a bit of contact. So I think overall I'm pretty lucky, and it's not too bad of a result to become 8th in that final race.
But before that, of course, you had 2 excellent drives through the pack. You had the race one battle that you had with Ted was pretty much reminiscent of what you guys had at Silverstone, which was fantastic to watch anyway. But with race 2, were you surprised with how much you were able to pull away? Was that simply just a case of you were keeping your nose clean, everyone else was scrapping in behind and just allowing you to get away whilst they were all losing time to each other?
I think it's not necessarily surprising. It was surprising that I got the chance to break the toe, I think, is the main thing. I knew that if I had the chance, I'd probably have a really good opportunity to pull away. And yeah, I managed to get a gap after they were battling. Once it got above 2 seconds, the tow effect is really quite reduced. So thankfully, I was able to pull a bit of a gap and thankfully come through to a pretty nice victory.
Just looking on the screen here, just your point of view and how you got caught up in that race 3 incident. I think it's safe to say you were looking back at it on the slow-mo. You were quite lucky not to be involved in some of the bigger incidents in that. You got tagged by somebody whilst another incident was going on. But then, was there a moment when that was happening? Were you thinking, "Oh, for goodness sake, please don't come make contact with me because I just want to carry on"? Because that looked like we're seeing on the onboard in slow-mo now. There's a moment where you think, "Oh, this is not going to go well." I think.
Yeah, just lock the brakes up entirely and just don't move, and wait until the majority of people have gone until you try and make your move to resume. Because in that sort of incident, you just don't want to get any more additional damage. A hit to a wheel is race ending, and thankfully, because I don't think the damage was very minor, I think a couple tenths a lap, if that. We were able to carry back on, and it proves why you need to keep going in these sorts of races, because those sorts of points can be really crucial coming to the end of the season.
Yeah, particularly when the fact that you've now got 3 wins under your belt now from the first 6 races, which is pretty strong, and I'm pretty certain that you were going into that last race given you had 2 wins on the trot as the series leader. Of course, now we've got the break over Christmas and New Year. Next round is at Donington Park. Is that a round that you think you're going to be particularly strong at, given that it's quite a popular circuit, or do you think that Donington could be a possible Achilles heel? What do you rate Donington Park in terms of your chances, and if it's a circuit that you think you can go well at?
I think Donington's a little less technical, which opens it up to being a little bit more like... Silverstone's a very technical track, but due to the long straights in these sorts of cars, it's impossible to pull any sort of gap, even a little cushion to stop you from getting past every lap. I think we saw in the first race, just around the back section of Brands GP, you can, if you really nail the corners, you can pull 4 tenths, which just protects you a little bit. A track like Donington, it's very slipstream based, and I imagine it'll be a harder time defending a lead if I'm fortunate enough to have one. But yeah, I mean, I like all tracks, so we'll give it a good go. I've certainly not got a track that I dread to go to, and yeah, I think just trying to keep it clean throughout the season.
Well, I'm certain that if you can keep it as clean as you did tonight, and even with the fight back you had towards 8th place, I'm sure you'll be in good stead on that side. So all I can say is great job for tonight, but also enjoy the Christmas break in the new year, and we'll hopefully see you fighting fit for Donington in the other side of 2024.
Yeah, thank you for the commentary, and thank you to Frentech Braking, Green Junior Rebuilds, RC Sim Photography, and PDM Media for the sponsorship for this series.
Thank you very much, likewise as well. Thank you, Will. Get best, great stuff, and we will see you on the other side in 2024.
See ya.
Good stuff. Thank you to Will. I was hoping that we would have possibly 1 or 2 more drivers. We have got Will Blackwood Chambers, who's always a joy to talk to, so we'll see if we can bring him in and have a word with him as well. Of course, there's quite a lot of the admin side of things as well. Now, Mr. Blackwood Chambers is back in the room with us as well. Mixed night for you, I think, as well, is the best way to sum it up. Again, first 2 races weren't too bad, it seemed, and then the start of race 3 happened. Just talk us through it.
Yeah, race 1 was good. Got held up a little bit towards the end, lost a spot, but fairly happy with it. Race 2 was excellent. Really happy with my pace. Car was all good. Got through. Race 3, well, there was flying Mazdas. Not really much I could do. I kind of came round the corner, saw the 2 glued ahead, and then I saw the underside of Tom Griffiths' car. Then I saw the wall, then I saw the sky, and then I was upside down. And that was that. And then I ran out, then I repaired and ran out of talent later on because I wasn't really paying attention. But yeah, reverse grid as ever, providing entertainment. Definitely entertainment.
We're just seeing that replay on the screen there, I think, in terms of that. You almost perfectly kind of talking us through it as it was happening, kind of in sync in terms of how it was going on when you had the contact, then you rolled over, then you came back across, so you almost kind of got that just about in sync with what we're seeing on the screen. But I think in terms of what we saw at the front, at least, we're talking generally here, some really good competition. I think what race we did do, if we want to pick a silver lining from what happened the first couple of laps, is that it allowed some drivers to get towards the front and showcase some talents. I mean, Harvey Jones was one of the stars tonight. I think he was a really fantastic addition to the grid. But some other drivers that performed really well in race number 3, particularly Isaac Doble again, Ari Barker, also there was Ewan Charman. A few other drivers in the mix who I mean this in the politest possible way, because we've got some very talented drivers in the grid anyway. But those drivers that did hit strife, that were some of the faster drivers in the pack, he gave them a chance to, whilst those they had hit strife, he gave a chance for others to step into the spotlight and show what they could do. And they put on just as good a race as the other guys had done all night as well.
No, yeah, it was good. It was good to see, as you say, different people getting towards the front. The pace tonight was very impressive. A lot of close racing. Will Redford clocked out a little bit in that one, and Will Chadwick clocked out a little bit more in race 2. But beyond that, you've got packs of 5, 6, 7, 8 cars just running around together, which is fantastic to see.
Yeah, certainly was. Of course, we now go into the Christmas and New Year break. So the next time we race, it's going to be, of course, on the other side of New Year in 2024. Donington Park's the next one. It's in the real world. It's one of my favourite circuits to watch and to commentate and see racing at. I think there's rarely a bad race I've seen at Donington Park of any kind, regardless of how many cars or what's racing. What do you think we can expect in a general sense of view, and in terms of maybe your own point of view from your own results? But generally, what do you think we can expect from these guys on the other side of New Year in Donington Park when we get racing back underway? Is it going to produce the kind of race we normally see at Donington in general? Do you think there's going to be a few more drivers that will have practiced hard over the winter to get themselves back up to speed? Or do you think we're already at a point where we've got starting to form a definitive league group of drivers that are getting to that point where they're very evenly matched, and that if it only takes them all to fight amongst each other and one to make a break, like Will Chadwick did, for someone to really pull away and dominate? I think that's only the reason why he dominated, I think, tonight in that second race, was the fact that everyone else behind him, yourself and Mikey and everyone else, were just so engrossed with battling with each other than trying to keep him in their sights, and he was 5 seconds up the road before they knew it.
Yeah, I mean, these cars particularly different from cold tyres as well, and he really nailed the opening lap and managed to pull a gap, which was excellent. But I think, as you say, everyone's getting very quick. The top 10 are incredibly quick. I'm probably one of the slowest ones in there, but if you look at, between 3rd and 8th in qualifying, they're all within a 10th. The front end is very, very competitive. I think it'll be the same at Donington. We've probably got a little bit more space to play with. The track's a little bit wider, so hopefully that'll help, because we had a little bit of carnage at the back end of this one. But a lot of drivers like it in real life. It's very well modelled in this game as well. So I think we'll see a lot of close wheel-to-wheel action. And of course, you've got the long back straight, which always lends itself to a bit of drafting, which these cars love.
Do indeed. We both know it from real and from sim that MX-5 never fails to disappoint when it comes to action. Excellent stuff once again for, I think, everyone tonight. Thanks to you, of course, for racing, of course, and again, Upset Public and the broadcast have already. Thanks to you and to Matt, of course, for all the admin work that you guys do behind the scenes, and to everyone else that's part of it so far. I think a first 2 very successful opening races to kick off the second Winter Esports season. 4 more still to go. We've still got Donington, Knockhill, Alton Park, and then the Laguna Seca finale again. And I think if they're as entertaining and as competitive as the first 2 have been, I think we're in for possibly a season that could see things again go down to the wire, and I think keep things even more unpredictable than last time was.
Oh, I'm sure it will be. And as ever, thank you to Hydro Race for sponsoring the series. Bottles will be made available.
Good man. Well, again, go and enjoy the break, and we'll see you in a racing aspect for this. Obviously, we'll talk offline before that, but in terms of the sim racing aspect, go and enjoy the break, and we will see you and everyone else on the other side in 2024. But for then, great stuff again tonight, Will, and best of luck for next time.
Perfect. Cheers.
Great stuff. So that pretty much wraps things up for another BRSCC Winter Esports event, evening's worth of racing. 3 very entertaining races, 2 wins for Will Chadwick, and also a first win of the season for Will Redford. That now makes it 3 different race winners from the first 6 races, and it should mean that when we go into the next part of the series, when we go into 2024, it could be even more interesting on top of that as well. Once again, I have to give thanks to, as Will said, to Will and to Matt for their efforts on the admin side in the Discord server, to everyone that's raced so far and everyone that's signed up for the series. It's really good to see. We've had over 40 registrations for the esports series, which is fantastic, even more popular than last year, which is incredible. Also, thank you to, as Will mentioned, to Hydro Race for their efforts in helping support the series as well. Also, on top of that, to Apex Racing TV for the broadcast, iRacing, of course, for the platform, and of course to all of you for watching, and for those who've been supporting and racing on top of it as well. So, if you want to keep track of what's going on with the esports racing, the next rounds you want to watch are going to be on January the 11th. 2024. It almost feels weird to say that after the long season that we've had. But the Donington Park National Circuit is next for these guys. Donington Park always produces great racing. In these cars, it's practically guaranteed. It should be even more fun. And after that, 2 weeks after that, we then go into Knockhill in Scotland. then to Autumn Park 2 weeks after that, and then the season finale towards the end of February at Laguna Seca in the USA to wrap up another Winter Esports Series. But that's in a couple of months' time. This is now, and of course we're going to be signing off here after what's been a very entertaining season all round so far for the Winter Esports Series and for BRSCC. I'll give my chance once again to say thank you to everyone who's been involved in BRSCC throughout 2023, in the real world, in the sim, and everything across the point. Drivers, teams, coordinators, officials, volunteers, marshals, team members, club members, everyone on top of that. Thanks for another incredible season all round on the real world circuits and in the sim as well on top of that. Thanks for watching. Make sure to hit the subscribe button to catch all the future esports broadcasts here on the BRSCC YouTube channel on top of that as well. And of course subscribe to Apex Racing TV as it's being broadcast there as well. And all left for me to say is from myself, Scott Woodris, from Josh Wilkie on cameras as well on top, and from everyone here in the virtual world of Brands Hatch. Thanks for watching. Have a fantastic Christmas and New Year, and we'll see you bright and breezy on the other side of New Year in 2024 for the third meeting of the season for the 23-24 BRSCC Winter Esports Series. But until then, have an amazing festive period. We'll catch you literally next year. But until then, bye for now.
Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool